welcome to a brand new episode of Inside Story, a program which brings to you issues that impact our lives. I'm Rajni, and in today's edition of Inside Story, we're focusing on National Games 2022, the roadmap ahead. It's been an interesting, exciting, and also a moment of pride for India at Asian Games 2018. Yes, you will agree with me when I say that India has put the best performance at the Asian Games. India has won 69 medals, which is the highest so far in the medal tally at the Asiad. This celebration and enthusiasm also brings us back to the home front, Meghalaya, which is also preparing itself to host the 39 National Games in the year 2022. The year 2022 is also strategically important for the state as it will celebrate the 50 years of its statehood. Meghalaya will be the third northeastern state to hold and host a National Games in the year 2022. The host city document was signed between the Indian Olympic Association, Meghalaya State Olympic Association and the government of Meghalaya on 3rd of January 2018. So as we embark upon this journey, it's also time for us to focus into the various factors that goes on to make this mega event. We cannot ignore the fact that the state has been reeling under deficit budget for several years now. We have poor economic scenario. There are several developmental agendas at the forefront. Education and health still is of prime importance. And amidst all of these issues, do you think an investment such as huge and large investment, is it really necessary in sports? We are also trying to look into what are the benefits that people can reap out of this national game, and we are also looking into how the government of Meghalaya is preparing itself for such a humongous task that is in their hand. Well, all of these issues and questions shall remain at the periphery of today's episode of Inside Story. Before we move on with the discussion, let me quickly introduce you to the house of esteemed panelists that I have with me here in the studio today. Please join me to welcome Mr. Chiranjeev Chaudhary. He is the General Secretary of Meghalaya State Olympic Association. I welcome you to the studio, sir. I also have with me Mr. Lorenzo Wargery. He is the ex-Vice President of Judo Federation of India. He has led 2 times Judo women team in National Games in the year 2007 in Assam and 2015 in Kerala. I welcome you to the show, sir. Joining us in the discussion is also Mr. Nabha Bhattacharjee. He is the General Secretary of Meghalaya Cricket Association. He is the member of BCCI and also an environmentalist. So to begin with the discussion, in very brief and for general understanding of our viewers, Mr. Chiranjeev, if you can tell us what is National Games?
National Game is a game where all the countries participate once in 4 years. Although we are not maintaining that for quite some time, it is happening in 2 years.
You mean all the states of the country?
No, all the states which are qualified.
Okay.
You have to qualify. It is not possible to have 29 states playing in one place, one game. It will be huge number of participants. So only the qualified the people, the players who are qualified in the nationals, their respective nationals, they participate in the National Games.
So you are saying National Games is actually a platform for players of different states to come forward, qualify and maybe get selected for Olympic after that?
Not necessarily, but definitely this is one of the
objectives. Criteria. Okay. Bawajri, I'll come to you. What are the other objectives of National Games?
See, like now we are going to host it in Meghalaya. The great benefit we are getting from it is that we don't have to qualify. The host team will go through all the 36 discipline, maybe 35, will get it qualified like that on their own. That means we are not included in that best 8 teams. So I think this is the best platform where Meghalaya can show off the talents in a big way, because it is quite difficult to qualify for the national game. Like we qualified the national game in 2000 in judo and in 2015 in judo. We have the other way around how to qualify, not in a simple manner. So I think this is the best option that our youngsters should look forward and take the benefits of it and make use of it, so that in future they will know that this is the important thing, is that Meghalaya has brought national game to Meghalaya.
So you see National Games 2022 as a direct entry point for many talented players in Meghalaya and also to a ground to gain experience.
That is actually the fact.
Okay, Banaba, I'll come to you. What are the what is the spirit of National Games?
You see, the spirit is huge. It's a melting point, confluence of athletes, the sports personalities from different states participating, intermingling, and it is also a celebration of sports and games, which is very important. As far as our state is concerned, it is definitely an opportunity for the youngsters, because we are not in the national scenario as far as commensurate with the many other disciplines which are included in the national games. So this will also provide an impetus and momentum to the youngsters to take up those new disciplines and take it forward. It is definitely very prestigious, happening during the 50 years, coinciding with the 50 years of the establishment of Meghalaya. So it is historical in many aspects. The challenge is there, and I am sure the Meghalaya State Olympic Association and others will live up to the challenge and make this event a grand success. We still have time, but as far as national games are concerned, you know that 3-4 years is
It's
not
too
a long
short a
time. So the challenge ahead.
Okay, so National Games 2022, which Meghalaya plans, will definitely be one of the biggest extravaganza. So Mr. Chaudhary, you're part of Meghalaya State Olympic Association. So if you can just kindly take us through the process as how did this decision happen? How did you come up with such a big plan?
This has been thinking for the association for quite some time. But to take a decision, you have to take this government of Meghalaya into confidence. So the talk has been going on, planning has been going on amongst the members whether we can really face this challenge. Then finally in the Executive Council meeting on 24th November 2016, I think 2016 or 15 it has been decided, we will request the government that we want to host the Meghalaya Games, National Games. So we could convince the sports minister then and the government, and they have agreed, and we have decided to bid it.
Okay.
So that is number one, the first hurdle. Second hurdle was to convince the IOA, the Indian Olympic Association, to allot it to us, because already there are few state governments, state associations are lagging behind. Goa is till today is not happening. It was overdue. That also we have come across. Finally, host city contract was signed. Now we are on the way. Some committees, working group committees were formed. The other committees were small land bank committee formed. Team preparation committee is formed. The game is now, things are moving on.
Okay. Second, if you can also tell us what shall be the financial burden to the state?
At this point
As a
of
part
time,
of
it is to give you the perfect figure will be difficult. It is somewhere in the range of 1500 crore to 2000 crore.
Okay. And the contribution will be from the central government,
We are
state
looking into
government?
it.
Is it
We are
a
looking into it.
equal partnership?
Not equal, definitely we are depending on the central government. It has been seen that normally center, whatever the total budget, out of that some 60 to 70% they give, the central contributes. The rest we have to organize our own through CSR, through sponsorship, etc., etc.
Okay. Manaba, I'd like to intervene here, We are a developing country and we have poverty as a major issue. So amidst this, do you think sport is really a priority?
You see, I would not like to link both. Poverty has its own intricacies, it has its own manifestations, and sports is something sublime. You see, the sports, there is no barrier that in a poverty, the sports cannot be taken up. You have seen there are galore of examples where from poverty they have risen like a phoenix and have performed. So I don't think that is a deterrent, and we cannot say that India today is a impoverished or a poverty-ridden country. Number of national games have been held, and this is also for the citizens and for all Indians to take pride in, and the state to take pride in. You see, sports and games is something which is beyond any other profession, and now professionalism is coming in a big way. So that is also the celebration and glorification of sports and games. When athletes from different states, and particularly our country, it's a myriad of differences, and at the same time a uniting force which comes together, and like a stream it flows. So this is the flow of meeting of hearts, of mind, your skill and your excellence in the sporting your each discipline. So I don't think there is a cross current between poverty and sports and games, because sports and games is something sublime.
Okay, so you believe that sports is more like a profession, much as it is in developed country, and India is just making the right progress towards it. Balorenzo, I will come to you. National Games 2022 will be having 36 disciplines, and the venues of the game will be spread across East Khasi Hills, Ribhoi, Ampati and Tura in Garo Hills. Now, you've already talked about what is the biggest advantage Meghalaya will be having over the games. But beyond that, how do you see common people benefiting from this biggest sport extravaganza?
Actually, the first important thing is about the stakeholders. Till now, as far as we know, we got the detailed information with us that there are only 21 disciplines that are being affiliated and recognized with the Meghalaya State Olympic Association. And we have 36 disciplines to be taking part in this national game. So it will be a big task, challenge for even for the Meghalaya State Olympic Association and those who love sports like Naba, myself and Chiranjeev and others. This is a welcoming sign. Those who wish that sport should come up in Meghalaya in a big way, we have another 14 or 15 associations which has not yet been coming in a platform. In such a big platform where we will recognize them, we will give them a scope that they can take part in the national game. Leave aside how to scout talents and all. We need now good people, good administrators, good sports administrators that who can run these other 15, 16 associations, register it as fast as you can, because the moment the healthy press button will be pressed by the IUA, where are all other 14 or 15 associations who have not been registered till now? So it will be a big task for us, for Meghalaya. Of course, it is an inside job of our own people here, especially the stakeholder like Meghalaya State Olympic Association. But I feel that we are sport loving people state. I hope that other 15 disciplines will come up in a big way.
Okay, so you see streamlining of association as one of the key agendas of National Games 2022. Manaba, I'll come back to you. How can common people who are not at all associated with games in any way, how can they benefit from this humongous exercise?
You see, there are three parts to your question. Number one, benefits. You see, benefit is a very relative term. Common people, the athletes will benefit, like Lorenzo has said, there are many disciplines which will open up. Number two, it will open a lot of avenues even from your commercial and showcasing not only the stadiums. You see, there are so many sites. You can have the tourism sector, project our state to the entire country. It will open up. I am telling you, it's going to boost your tourism and other, because we are going to lay more infrastructure. Because our state, from tourism point of view, we need infrastructure. And now being in the planning board, and I am looking after the working group which include sports also, we are looking after 2022 a spurt of more than 80 to 80% than what it is today in the tourism sector. So the common man, once tourism goes, the common man will benefit, the sports people will benefit, and there will be a tremendous spurt even in the economic activities. Can you imagine the infrastructure which is going to be opened up, the infrastructure which is going to be established? Like our present Honorable Chief Minister has a vision where we are working on it, where the entire village will be in one place, and there will be a 8-lane express highway from Shillong to that area.
Mhm.
So can you imagine, then the airport is going to be connected. So once these activities take place, national games is one which gives a lot of momentum to growth, and you will find a considerable rise in the GDP and all other aspects. So it percolates down, and it's going to help and even raise the standards of the common people. A large section of the society will benefit from these national games, I am telling you, directly and indirectly both.
Banaba, you have painted a very beautiful picture, and I would like to believe in that picture and see that day happen. Mr. Chiranjeev, I'll come to you. Lorenzo raised a point of scattered associations and federations. What role Meghalaya Olympic Association has to play towards bringing all of this together before the games?
You have raised a very
Maybe
pertinent
enlivening it and enriching it further.
What Valerie said is absolutely correct. It's a humongous task, and we have been working on it for last 1 year. We have formed a committee, and we are working on a new association. The difficulty is to getting a correct kind of people to the form association. It is not anybody I can ask somebody go and form it. You have to love the sports. You have to be good administrator. And there are a lot of rules, regulations are there to get affiliated. They have to be affiliated in the only level, they have to have the infrastructures. So we are working on it already. Out of we are 18 Olympic game. Out of 36 which is chosen for the national games, 18 already we have in existence. Out of that another 5-6 already we have formed. They are in the process, and we still have to work for another 12. So we are working on it, and things are going smoothly so far, and when time comes we will cross it.
Okay. So
can I add one more?
Yes,
to that?
sure.
See, this code of conduct of the government service rule, they ask that any state government employee who wish to be the office bearer of any association has to take an NOC from the concerned department, especially personal department. I hope that through the MSV and through Banaba, who is being in the planning board, I think this clause has to be notified for this certain period till 2022. The 20A, where a person, like I am a government servant of state government, if I wish to be involving in those activities now created by the MSVA to form a new good association, we need good administrator also at the same time. So government servant will be more reliable, more approachable, because they have free time also. They have suppose they have a kind of passion to do so. But since this clause has been there, it's a kind of deterrent for them to apply for NOC. It takes time also. So I think through this discussion that the government of Meghalaya denotify this 20A clause of Code of Service rule, so that they can join in any association they wish to do, any government servant of Meghalaya.
And render their valuable services. Yes, Banaba, you were
I agree with Balari. You see, as far as, although cricket is not a part of the Olympic discipline, we have our own independent setup. You see, recently the Supreme Court in the R.N. Lodha recommendations, you see, they have totally barred government servants from being associated with any state association. Not only government servants, even ministers. So you see, time is not far that this will be passed, since it's a Supreme Court directive. Time is not far that it goes into other sports also. But I tell you, and we have pleaded in the Supreme Court, but unfortunately is the decision of the apex court, we have to abide by it, that you see, government servants can play a very important role in any of the sports association. We need people from all walks of life. You cannot I'm not speaking against the wisdom of the Honorable Supreme Court. They must have done it as far as cricket is concerned. But I will still emphasize that the government servants can play a very influential and effective role in management and administration, and including creation of infrastructure, facilitating particularly. They can play a very important role.
Yeah, there has also been several criticisms time to time on the involvement of politics into games, and probably we need certain amount of policy and direction in that regard also. Chaudhary, you wanted to add something?
I just agreeing to Nobo and Lorenzo. I'll give you an example. About a couple of years back, the same thing was applied in the Sikkim. Government of Sikkim, they barred all the government official to be part on the any sports activities, and their entire sports collapsed. No team went for nationals. Nothing has happened. So government was bound to revoke the entire law. So we need people. Unfortunately, we do not have so much of people who can really run the association. It's not easy to run. And remember, all the associations are run by voluntary. They say we are all people who are there, we are all voluntary. We are there love of the sports mostly, but I think government of Meghalaya has to think about it and take a correct decision.
So government of Meghalaya before the games has a big task also to enable and ensure that the skilled people, whether they belong to the government sector or they are outside the unit, to actually take charge of the association and lead it in the right direction before the games. Okay, Mr. Chaudhary, you have a lot of task in your hand, as you have to revive, not just revive, there are so many scattered associations and federations we talked about, streamlining of all that is there. So coming back to another aspect, which is this is where I think the sport policy comes very, very handy. True. And we require sport policy. Yeah. But before I come to that, Banaba, why has it taken so long for government of Meghalaya to frame a sport policy?
Is the usual government functioning, I'm sorry to say. I don't know, this draft was in the domain for years. I fail to understand why a policy document, if there is something wrong, if you want more, then have more deliberations, interact more at what level you want to. But it's when you say that it's finished, either it's in a stupor now, neither it's moving nor it is any decision being taken on this. If there are any other shortcomings, if there are any lacunae, if there are certain things to be incorporated, it should be done, but it should not be just put in a back burner. It gains momentum for some time, then again it comes to a halt. And it is not only the Meghalaya, you see the national sports policy. We in the cricket wanted to follow the national sports policy, but for last 2 years we are trying to introduce the national sports policy in the parliament, which has not happened. In our state, I fail to understand why this is not taking off. I had also discussions with our present Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs. It is very, very important. If you want, have brainstorming for 10 days, 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, but finish it, get it off. You can always amend it, but make it moving. Just keeping it like this, I don't think it's serving anyone's cause, frankly.
Okay, I think Larry, you will be able to put a lot more point into this, because you've been associated with sports for over 20 years. That's what we were discussing about. Why has it taken so long for a policy document to evolve?
I still remember when it was started for deliberation on this issue. Yes, of course, the stakeholders they are not taking serious in those years, around in 2000. But later on, the government has taken the decision otherwise that IIM Shillong will come in the main front to take care of all the stakeholders to come forward with all the documents, the viewpoints, the suggestions and all. Even I have done it for my part as a judo. I have gone to IIM Shillong submitting all the documents. And then after that, we have a long deliberation in IIM, so for 2 times, I think, 2 times. Yeah. But still, now it has gone to the government. Of course, I could say that nothing damage can be done to that paper submitted by IIM Shillong. It is there in a cold storage. Something I feel that the government has to come up. Otherwise, what will be the spirit of the youngsters if they see that if I get a medal, suppose, like Wansuk Murthong, she cannot get a promotion in her department because there is no clear-cut policy that what she should get the benefit from that. We have another Everester, Kharbi, we have that one also. Then we have another gentleman also. Now we have so many youngsters also there. See, just a hard cash and money of 1 lakh to give them at the day of Meghalaya Day and all, that will not be suffice for all of us. We need a clear-cut policy that these are the things to be in place.
Okay, so there is some positive change towards this, as we see the new government is quite proactive in drafting the policy, and we have the draft ready. So, but Chiranjeev, if you can just highlight on what are the key aspects that this policy covers.
See, Meghalaya Olympic is a part of this draft policy for quite some time, and there are too many meetings were held. If you know, the policy is the draft policy in the public domain for further queries, if any. Unfortunately, apart from one or two organizations or individuals, nobody has responded to that. Now it is in the final stage. I do not know. I said this final stage is happening for last 6 months. I do not know how long it will take, but government with the MSA is working hard. Now any moment it will come. And your second, what was the question you asked?
I wanted to know what are the key highlights of this draft policy document.
This policy is a guideline for managing and certain rules regulation, like what will be the amount of incentives, as Ranjan said, for the national event winner or the international event winner or the journal. All these have been spelled there with a quantum of fund allocated. What will be done to the state association? What will be the this is a about,
so it's a framework.
It's a framework basically
For various
yes.
Working of the different associations.
Yes.
Okay, Banaba, I'll come to you. One of the key agendas of the policy is also to make recreational facilities mandatory in all educational institutions and community level. Now, what kind of changes or rather developments do we see in this aspect?
Here I'll ask you, I'll answer with a question to you. Have you gone around the educational institutions recently, last 2 years, 3 years? I'm not talking about rural, urban. You will find most of the schools, when we were in school in St. Edmunds, we had 5 grounds. Today one single ground is there, that also has been divided into 2. One side is a basketball court. That used to be exclusive football, cricket, and for the seniors. I'm just giving an example. Now you see, even the schools are the nursery where you nurture and you develop sports persons. Sports is an integral part of school curriculum. But where has it happened? If you do not have a ground, how many schools has got proper grounds today? All had, many of the schools had. All building infrastructure has come up to accommodate more students with scant regard for sports activities. So it is going on the reverse direction. So this has to be, I think the sports policy, I had given my suggestion, and the number one suggestion was this, that a minimum acreage has to be kept aside, or when you are giving permission for new institutions to come up, not only schools, colleges, universities, technical institutes must have a certain percentage of their total area earmarked for sports activities. This is, unless you create infrastructure, how do you promote? St. Edmunds sports used to be one of the best when we were there, and even after 2 decades, 3 decades after we left. Today you see, where the athletics, except the polo, where do you have the proper athletics tracks? Where do you have for the games, where they for track events, for field events? So you just talk about sports, but if you do not create the infrastructure, it is very unfortunate. I fully agree that there are constraints pertaining to your land holding system here, and I'm sure, I think Mr. Chiranjeev can tell you better, and Baleri. But I could also hear from being in the government that there are a lot of hurdles being faced even for acquisition of land to create infrastructure for these coming national games.
We will come to that, but it's quite a fact that urban spaces are shrinking, and I think this is where the government can play a proactive role, especially the sports department. If there can be some kind of strong regulations that every school should have earmarked a certain space for sports, and that's where the beginning of sports as a discipline, as a profession will start as. Yes, you came to the land hurdle, and according to the sports minister Mr. Bantedar Lingdo, there's a need to construct as many as 17 new stadiums, 2 game villages for hosting of the mega sport event in the state. He also said that the land needed for construction of the game village is 100 acres, for mini game 50 acres, while 10 acres each for the stadiums. Now, land acquisition has been a major hurdle for the government. Mr. Chaudhary, if you can highlight on this aspect, how are we overcoming this?
Definitely government is working hard. There is a land bank committee headed by minister himself. So, I cannot give you the actual situation at this point of time, but I am sure we will overcome.
Okay. Lorenzo, would you like to share how do we overcome this issue?
I think straightforward, the traditional heads of in Meghalaya, whether in Garo Hills or in Khasi Hills, Jaintia Hills, they have a role to play to, at least they have so many land within their control. We call it in Khasi, Karaj. That means you don't have to pay anything at all to get those land, and you give it freely to the farmer to do cultivating. And sometimes if the farmers left it like that for 2 years, so another one can occupy all this thing. Those kind of land, mashi land and all also can be identified by the Dorbar, by the traditional heads, because it is for our people only. This will be beneficial. Not only that the state government only has to do everything. They have a role also to say that yes, we should welcome this national game 2022. All the traditional heads, the Nokoma, the Mahari, the Same, the Lingdo, the Sardar, from Joai, the Dolo and all. They have a role to play also.
Banaba, we saw a certain kind of deadlock which happened even with the national highway, the acquisition of land in Umsning, that took a lot of time. Do you see similar trend happening here? Is this a venture for local bodies to make quick money?
Yeah, you see, as I only have mentioned, that because of the land holding system, there are some certain issues. But you see, each individual, to the last man or to the last woman, should take pride that we are having such an event here. Whether it's the rides, whether it's the Rangbashnongs, whether it's the Rockmas, whether it's the Dolois. You see, government alone cannot. It has to be a concerted effort, and it has to be an orchestra of harmonization in creating this game. Every individual has to be involved. But how do they get involved? The people who are there, the MSO, the government departments, they all have to get the people involved. And here you see, for roads it's a different issue because they do it in a commercial manner for expansion of roads, this, that. But here you see, suppose in a village, suppose in Nongkrem, where one stadium I know is coming up, we visited. So you see, the people came forward because they know that the infrastructure which is coming up is being located in their own area. So this infrastructure itself may create avenues for further sources of employment. Plus, when the infrastructure is being built, there are a lot of material requirements and other things which they can also benefit. So it should be a packaging given to the people who have the land, who are ready to give free of cost. Because I don't know regarding the national games, as far as the cricket is concerned, BCCI gives crores of rupees, hundreds crores, there is no issue. But when it comes to land, the state association has to provide the land, whether they buy or whether they give free of cost. The land has to be provided by the state government. So in this way, if this is the case here, the land bank committee, as Mr. Chiranjeev has said, the land bank committee is there, and I think a lot of headway has been made. Particularly, I know about the games village, because I think about more than 150 odd acres have been somewhere near Negrims has been done. And I have seen also the get-up and the architectural initial drawings, which is absolutely totally as per the vision of the Mr. Conrad K. Sangma, Honorable Chief Minister. As per his vision, it is being developed. So the games village, few stadiums, and the entire other related infrastructure, including the swimming arena and all this, connected by an express highway to Shillong and other places from Joai. That I have seen. I don't know about the others in Garo Hills and all. So this is the way, and I'm sure that Meghalaya State Olympic Association has good people manning it, They need to get more administrative acumen, people with experience, and together with the government and stakeholders. And main thing is involving everyone. You cannot take a policy of keeping A out, taking B in. Take the good of all and make it into a people's movement. It has to be a people's movement to make these national games one of the best, and we can do it.
Vanaba, you have touched upon a very interesting point. Yes, if we have to make this national games happen, it has to be people's movement. Ballari, I will come to another interesting point, which is we are looking at a huge infrastructure. Now, my point of interest is what shall happen to all of these after the games? We saw a certain kind of fix that happened after the Brazil games, after the FIFA World Cup in Russia. They were at a fix what will happen to the stadium, the maintenance, the logistics of it, who shall own it, how shall it run, what is the aftermath of the games?
See, the aftermath of the game is that after all this committed asset has been put in place and the local people, the local lawyers, the local bodies have taken care of how to get all this land, to get that infrastructure installed there. I see that the youngsters of Meghalaya, we have also an evidence also that India will be the world's youngest nation by 2020. It doesn't mean that those who are athletes can make use of it. We have so many other employment avenues in sports, to be a sports psychologist, to be a sports manager, to be a sports specific volunteers also. So these are the avenues that people will see that yes, there are other kind of employment avenues also for in other skills in sports that people can take up in a big way, that I want to be the coach or say of judo. We don't have judo coach in Meghalaya till now. We have only one. We need almost 11 coaches. So this will be another ample opportunity that it will open the eyes of the people that they should not go only for engineering course, they should not go only for nursing and all, where we are inclined to that, but they will see that yes, in sports also we have many scopes that we will get employment avenues.
Okay, Banaba, you had raised interesting point about people's participation, and maybe the local darbars can play a big role in maintaining or rather taking care of the infrastructure that is built around the game. Valerie, you have talked about how people can find entrepreneurship opportunities through these infrastructures. Okay, I will come to Bachaudhry, to you, and I want to know what kind of grassroots search or nurturing are we looking into so that the Meghalaya not just convincingly participates in all the 36 disciplines, but also ends up winning medals at most of it?
See, as I mentioned earlier, we have formed a government has formed a TPC committee. TPC, this is Team Preparation Committee. That work has been going on for last 1 year. We have gone to each and every association which is affiliated to us and ready to give the details, coaches, some of the association already identified. For table tennis, we know we have identified the number of players. So we will be going at them heavily. Whatever has to be, get the expert from the outside, send them for exposure trip, and etc. Whatever is in. Training already started in some places. Some of the association already on the job. So we are MSOA is working hard on this.
Okay.
Almost every week we are sitting with the respective association and working on it, and rest to be seen in 2022.
Ballari, one is the infrastructure building. The second aspect is also talent. What do you see? What is the initiative towards this?
Actually, for scouting and tap talents is a big task really, because till now I can say on record we don't have much senior player to be taken part in this national game 2020. But at the same time, it is a message to all the youngsters of Meghalaya, especially in the martial arts area, because Northeast has been clarified, has been tagged as this. We have a national talents in martial arts in the Northeast, even in Meghalaya also. We don't have coaches in certain disciplines also, but we could see that our youngsters reach international arena in a big way. Though they try their best how to reach on their own out of passion, they have to go from each and every corner to, like I used to tell the earlier Chief Minister of Meghalaya, I will have the opportunity to tell the present one also. I have passed a BBS degree, back, borrow and steal, for all the martial arts of Meghalaya athletes who has to go abroad and play in the international event. But I said I don't mind. I'm trying to project in such a way, because if we don't project also, how come the government will know all these things also? So I said I have got a big degree, sir, BBS, back, borrow and steal. Any MLA who will see me in the corridor of Secretariat will run away, I know that. But I will catch him, that at least he should give 10,000 or 5,000. Why? We are doing something good for the youngsters, and this is the right platform now. This is the right platform that we could say that, yes, whatever you have in your hand, see, you have 2.5 lakhs every year, MLAs. Shell out only 10% out of that into 60 MLAs. I hope we can have national events of 2 or 3 events in Meghalaya.
Okay.
If we have that, at least we can show our youngsters, yes, we are going in the right direction.
Okay, one point of interest for me is if some sports person or an athlete is watching us, and 4 years is also a too short a time, but then do they have to be part of an association or federation in order to take part in national games? Is that a must?
Yeah, that is a must. They have to
Affiliate
register
themselves
with a particular association. But only thing, we have to be concise with the MSA that at least one athlete with one discipline only. I think that is a part of the role of MSA, because in martial arts we have one athlete who take part in 2-3 disciplines as well. I think this I'm going to share with relationship now, that at least one athlete must register with one discipline only. Because how can you say that he got medals in wushu, he got medals in judo, he got medal in other discipline of martial arts? So it's not nice. Let have a equal share for all the athletes who should come forward. But only thing is that this is the very important information I would like to share with you. When ex sports minister of Meghalaya said that in 2004 we have a Meghalaya Games in 2004, he said that our aim is to qualify for the national game. I said I'll find the other way around, because we cannot qualify for a national game in a simple way with the local athletes. But I talked with the IG of CRPF. We need 3 CRPF ladies from Manipur who works in Delhi. They were redeployed in Shillong, and IWA allowed that those who are in the military service, army service, armed forces, whenever they work 6 months in that particular state, they can represent. They have to represent the state. Otherwise, we can raise objection to that.
Okay.
They will be disqualified. So if we raise objection, so I hope that we can make use of all these armed forces. But only my humble opinion, humble suggestion to all the stakeholders in Meghalaya, whatever may be the case, they are also our friends. They work for us, though they are in the armed forces. Whoever they are, maybe they are our own people or not own people. So at least we should be settled that 2 or 3 in that particular discipline, they are sure to be in the map of getting medals for Meghalaya.
Okay, that's an interesting point there. Banaba, since you are also the member of the planning board, I think you are the right person, being an environmentalist as well. What eco initiatives can be taken so that there is no massive deforestation for the sake of building sports infrastructure?
You see, it has to be ecologically sustainable. It has to take the environment into consideration, and I'm sure the architects who will be drawing up will be briefed from our end also, because if you go on cutting down trees and hills and you destroy the water bodies and you create infrastructure, I think is not worth having such type of national games infrastructure. And I think even the government is very much aware, the MSOA and others. So we will definitely make a concerted effort so that we have green buildings, we have green infrastructure, your waste management, your sewerage treatment, you have the hybrid system of solar and wind, so that the energy is green energy. So all these has to be taken into consideration. And you are saying what will happen to the infrastructure.
Yes.
You see, once you build such infrastructure, they can be used for multiple purposes by the government. One idea I'll tell you that I was discussing with my colleagues, that we need to decongest Shillong, right? Particularly regarding traffic and the building. How do you decongest? When these infrastructure are coming up, suppose near Negrims, Nokram and other outlying satellite villages, once this game is over, these infrastructure can be used to decongest by shifting your offices, which are here, by shifting many of the government institutes, by shifting the government should start first, by shifting those to those new infrastructure. So care should be taken that while it should be sport specific, at the same time we take care that after the games is over, these buildings and infrastructure can be immediately occupied. This will ensure proper maintenance, sustainability, and at the same time decongesting our towns and cities, particularly Shillong. So this is an idea which I have, and I think it is going to work out.
Okay.
And the infrastructure also is put to good use. You don't have need additional funds. Suppose you want to shift PWD office, you shift it to Nongkrem. So you have proper roads, you have proper infrastructure ready, so you don't have to do additional funds. You raise down that building and create green belt where the present PWD office is there. Create some parking facilities, widen the roads. You see, it has to be a holistic planning from now while creating those infrastructure.
Okay. Banaba, you have put really interesting points there, and you've also laid emphasis on not to play around too much with the topology of the land and build infrastructure around it that supports it. We have come almost to the end of the program, and before we wrap, maybe I would like to hear one last word from each one of you, a quick closing comment. Maybe Balari, will start with you. How do you see National Games 2022 contributing to the people of Meghalaya?
Being a stakeholder, I would like to request that good administrators should come forward in sports management. Then only good players will come. Then only we can have forward linkages with MSOA and other logistics which the government is going to do all the time, review and make it happening. And I hope that with that spirit of moving forward, with the right spirit of good administration in sports, we will be ahead in this national game. Maybe not up to that particular expectation, but anyhow we can show our face that yes, 36 disciplines are in place in this national game.
So you're emphasizing on the role of good sports administrator. Okay, thank you, Balari. And Mr. Chaudhary, what will be your last concluding remarks for today's discussion?
One thing I would like to mention here, I've been talking to a lot of people. One good thing is everybody is in favor of national games. Nobody said we shouldn't have the national games in India. Only question they say, can we have it in 2022? I'm sure we will have it. See, if you see the past, Manipur had their time, Assam had their time, Jharkhand they had their time. Goa is still there having their time.
Struggling with.
So I'm sure we'll have in 22 because government is serious, we are serious, and the people are with us. There is the positive side. Challenges are more, but we shall overcome the challenge once again, as I said.
Okay. Banaba, what will be your concluding remarks to the discussion that we have today on National Games 2022?
You see, as I said, because being a sports administrator, I love sports right from my young days. And I'm very positive, hopeful that the National Games is happening. It is a matter of great pride for each Meghalayan that these games has been brought, and thanks to MSOA and the government. The only thing I say that, you see, again I'll repeat, it has to be a people's movement. And MSOA, government and all those who are, you need to involve people who are in this line. They may not be part of any association, but you cannot close doors. You should keep it open and take it to the people, get the people involved. As I said, people's movement, generate that interest. You see, the people will only drive it to happen. And I'm sure with MSA being run by very efficient individuals like Mr. Chiranjeev, John Karshing and others are there, Larry. And from my side, although we are not part of this, but we commit whenever our needs are wanted. Whenever I was asked in few occasions to come and give a talk, we are ready to get involved, besides the government, being a sports administrator, to work out how to generate things, how to bring coaches, and there are linkages where we can develop with cricket and the MSOA, so that at this stage also, because I totally agree with what Larry said, we have lack of good coaches in all disciplines, support staff. There is something known as support staff. Like for cricket, my one team of even under 16 going, there are 7 support staff accompanying. One head coach, one assistant coach, one trainer, one physio, one masseur, and one attendant, plus a manager. Then we have a mentor for Ranji, for under 23 a mentor. Like we are working with national players to bring them as mentors.
So,
So this has to be, and I'm positive it's going to happen. But people and all stakeholders must be motivated, and we should work together. And we commit ourselves that whatever, in whichever manner, our support, assistant, help, even working physically, being involved hands-on, we are there because it's a matter of pride to work with MSOA, the government, and all the stakeholders.
okay. Barnaba there emphasizes on integrative approach, and we have seen a positive stint in this form of South Asian Games, the kind of developments it brought with just a span of 2-3 months, and what improvement we saw in the sports, and that's the same hope we also have for National Games 2022. It's going to be an uphill task for the government of Meghalaya, filled with challenges and difficulties, but the house here and the discussion that emerges out from this discussion is it is a venture worth taking, because nothing else binds people, brings them together as sport, and games and sports have immense power to transform people, to be more dedicated, to be more focused, to be healthy, and hence positively contribute towards the development and prosperity of the region. With those few little remarks, we also are looking into a huge sports ecosystem, and this will not just help in identifying the hidden talents, but also in nurturing these talents and also creating a platform for them so that we win medals, we win hearts. Well, on that positive remark, I would like to thank each of my panel members for being here in the studio and sharing so many valuable thoughts with us. Thank you so much for your presence, and I believe that you have found the discussion thought-provoking, insightful. We will have many further discussions on this issue, but till then, this is Rajni saying goodbye. But before that, here's a little reminder. Inside Story comes to you every Friday at 5 p.m. So don't forget to catch us next week. Till then, it's goodbye from here, and do stay tuned for our next program. I don't know how.